A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my honor and my privilege to have a special series for Global Careers Month. What is the Global Careers Month? The Global Career Month is the Interagency Career Guidance Working Group composed by Cedefop, the European Commission, ETF, ILO, OECD, UNESCO, and the World Bank will organize a Global Careers Month from 8th November to the 12th of December from all over the world. During this period, the international agencies will promote a series of global and regional level events in partnership with national and regional associations operating in the area of career development as it is relates to young people and adults. So today I'm very privileged and very honored to have a wonderful guest from Romania, and her name is Dr. Andreea Szilagyi. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And she's a social innovator, an educator, a career counselor, and a leadership coach. She is the pioneer of career counseling in Romania. I would like to welcome her to the show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation, Raza. We've been known each other since a long time ago, and this is a very interesting see how life doesn't prepare us sometimes, not even for the nice moments. So thank you very much for connecting with me and for the nice introduction. And actually, thank you for taking interest in what happens in my part of the world. And how do you want to start?
Sure. So I would like to request you to share your story of how you came into in the field of career counseling. I understand you are the pioneer of career counseling in Romania. So what was your happenstance theory that you came into this field of inspiring and transforming people?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm trying to keep a long story short. And it's nice that you try to pinpoint to career counseling. But my initial interest was in I was not aware at the time. So my initial interest was in actually the whole area of counseling. And the reason I even went there in 1995 was purely economical. Like I was looking outside, and Romania was in that very delicate historical stage of transitioning from communist times that was really hard for my country to a more democratic society. But we were right in the middle. I was 17 when the revolution broke out, and I was 18 when I was, in freshman at the university. And it was interesting to see that there was still no private initiative, and there were people in their 30s and 40s and 50s looking for a job, and they didn't even know how to start and where to start. Some of them didn't even know about a CV or that they had to go through a job interview. So it was a complete lack of education. Services were completely non-existent. And it was this huge need, which I perceived as a need for education. Very interesting. So to me, the placement piece was an outcome, like a normal outcome of this whole educational process. Now, my background is education, psychology, sociology. And I've been an educator since I remember, because at 18, I was already certified as a primary school teacher. So I've always employed this type of lens, education, which is a very proactive approach. So at that time, I think the psychology profession was coming pretty strong in, and it was this huge void when it came to school counseling and career counseling. And I'm talking about school counseling as different than school psychology, and career counseling as different than what a psychologist could do from the mental health point of view. So I decided to go and pursue research at a doctoral level, because that was the only outlet I had. At the time, I didn't have educators, right? People didn't even know what counseling meant. So it was an interesting process. I would spare you, but it was an interesting journey, and I got to know and to meet with people from all over the world, just trying hard to, to graduate and finish my doctoral project, which came out to be the first doctoral research in counseling in Romania. So, and yeah, thank you for the word pioneer. It's pretty, it just happened that I was there. I think I was just lucky, but I learned a lot. So, and then, so finished my doctorate, and then I started to create programs in career counseling and school counseling. And I started the first master's in career counseling in Romania in a polytechnic university, because I thought about the business sector. You know, okay, psychology services existed, but what about the business sector? Who prepares them? I created the Romanian Counseling Association. I created the first journal in counseling that is still the only one in Europe that says journal for counseling. So it's not combined with a career, with school, with psychotherapy. It's just counseling. So those are my first attempts to address the professionalization in Romania.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that very entrepreneurial journey of how to start. I think it takes a lot of wisdom, a lot of thought process involved when you start a movement from the ground zero. So that's always a challenge. I would like to now, if you can share with the audience on the best practices of career counseling in Romania.
I think that when it comes to best practices in Romania, we should start from the point where we are aware that there is no common structure. So there is not, we don't have a central entity taking care of the career services in Romania. That's if you don't count the Ministry of Labor, that has projects and has, employed efforts to address the unemployment. So it's pretty much placement and or outplacement. But when we talk about the concept of career as we know it, I would mention, and I find commendable, there is an initiative actually coming from the psychology field right now that is trying to create a common standard and a better standard for the career services in Romania. And this team tried to put together psychologists, psychotherapists, career workers, career centers, and career practitioners. So this is going on. Another thing is that is commendable. The National Qualification Authority in Romania, which is linked to at the European level with the others, is promoting a certification in they call it vocational guidance. So it's career development, and the downside of it, and the critics might say that this is very basic and it just takes 35 hours, 40 hours of training, and it's not very sophisticated. But for me, as a pioneer, as you said, I see this as a significant landmark in the development of the profession. Why? Yes, maybe the quality won't be there, is not there yet, but the service exists. So there is this framework that will become better, but at least the state offers something which helps the public to become more aware that such a service exists. So it has so many positive consequences that at the moment I'm ready to overlook the lack of sophistication, let me put it this way. And I'm sure this is the first step, and something better will grow from there. So we have the National Qualification Authority certification that is going on. We have the efforts to create a better standard based on research that is going on. We have a Romanian Counseling Association that has a strong number of career practitioners that come together, many, I mean, we hope to come together even more times. We have several programs at the master's level. They're pretty good. They are school counseling with a career component. So, we have attempts to implement better supervision services. And not to forget, we have a consistent, pretty good number of GCDFs, career, experts here that created a solid, steady going type of practice. So, and another thing that is to me very, very significant and makes me happy, especially because many career practitioners that operate in the Romanian market used to work with me. I was either their professor or their peer, or we worked in a consultancy role, or we worked in projects together, or research together, or we wrote papers together. So it makes me very proud to see that. But what I wanted to say is that I see this mixture of yes, it's career, but it's also education and it's mental health. I see this a lot of career counseling, coaching, advisory services emerging. And it's this mix that doesn't always, doesn't forget about the mental health component, the well-being component in careers, especially now in those turbulent times. So these are some things that I find, commendable. And on top of everything, we're lucky because Romania has a very strong digital education. So people can offer services remotely. There are lots of activities that happen online, So yeah, stuff like this, I think it's
Very nice. I really like the very holistic answer that you responded to this. The first learning was that the state was involved in making sure that this is a success. Second of all, it's not just focusing on career counseling, but it is impacting different segments, as you mentioned, mental health, well-being, education, career counseling. So it's a
yeah,
much more integrated impact that you shared in Romania. Talking
yeah,
of impact, and one of the things that I really like to do is seek wisdom from experts from around the globe is multi-stakeholder advocacy. Our profession requires that the most. So during this Global Careers Month, what will be your wisdom on how to initiate a strategy, or what will be the first initial baby steps per se to have a very effective multi-stakeholder advocacy for our profession?
well, that's a good question, and I wish I had the best answer. But and me and my colleagues, we've been thinking about it. And I have a couple of colleagues at the Romanian Counseling Association that I'm very proud of, and they are really very involved personally and professionally in pushing this profession ahead. And I want to remind you, Raza, that Romania is one of the countries where career counseling, or counseling for that matter, is not a recognized profession. So we start from a different point. We're fighting to change status from an occupation, or sometimes just a job or a job role, to a full-blown profession. So we start from let's say, from a deficit point. And what we can do, and that's what we're trying actively to do, is to first to become stronger as a community. Because as always, the strength is in numbers. It's one thing to be political, and we try to go to the Ministry of Education, to go to the Ministry of Labor, to go to the Ministry of Youth and advocate for those services and talk about the need from a research point of view or from a practical point of view, that, but it's a different thing when we actually show the authorities the numbers and we say we have an association, look at the number of clients they're searching for such services, look at the level of education, look, we have an association, we have a code of ethics, we've published a lot, we have a supervision system, so we are ready. So I think in Romania, we're trying to change the focus because for so many years in the communist times, the population, the general public was waiting for the state to provide. So now we're trying to become, as you said, more entrepreneurial, and we're trying to get strong within our communities. And I won't even bother you with the myriad of difficulties that we face, because all of this is voluntary work, and this is not a wealthy country, and people fight for survival. So going back to your question, another difficulty is to define the stakeholders, because immediately you go with your mind to the ministry, to the state. But then if you look at the labor market, you can see there are stronger players. And stronger players could be the corporations that found a very, let's say, generous environment here in Romania, where people are highly educated and they accept less pay than in, let's say, developed countries or more developed countries. So besides the corporation, then we have the agriculture sector that is really, we see it almost, struggling a lot. But that's a huge business there, and there is no career effort that is focused on that sector. So at this point, we can always go to each player and advocate, or we can become stronger, prove that we are a force, show results, and they are there. And then to go to the stakeholders, or then hopefully they will come to us.
Very nice. Very, very comprehensive, very persuasive perspective of defining who are the stakeholders. I think there should be no assumptions and no guesstimates per se. So once we define our focus, then who are those? As you rightly said, that in association angle provides a very strong evidence that you're not just having a pie in the sky per se, but you have actually done this. You have wisdom to draw upon. You have evidence. You have research. You have numbers. So I really like this angle, and this leads to my next question of the Romanian Counseling Association that you are very passionate about. If you can share your wisdom on that, and how can the international community contribute to that?
Thank you for asking me about that. That's one of my very dear projects that actually started in my apartment. I incorporated Romanian Counseling Association in my own apartment in Bucharest back in the day, in 2008. So, and it was with a handful of colleagues and friends that really believed in this. And it's been a very rocky story. We almost closed several times. We lost the membership. We gained membership again. Now the president is a colleague of mine who's very well connected with all the career school offices in the territory all over Romania. And I put my faith in him, and I know that he will help the community to move ahead. Now, the way we actually had and still have a couple of international members, of course, things happen in Romanian language, but we organize periodically, conferences and workshops where the foreign guests are more than welcome. And they seem to be very generous. A more advanced stage, and they write for our journal, which helps our community to get more educated. So to answer your question, you can join and be part of our events. People here understand English, they speak English, that's not a problem. be a, a contributor with your practice or your practical wisdom. Write for our journal, invite your colleagues to write for our journal. And the journal is not indexed yet because it's still in an early stage, but all the articles are peer reviewed, blind peer reviewed, and with starting 2023, we will distribute it everywhere in Europe. So yes, you're welcome, and bring your colleagues with you.
Thank you for sharing that on how people can contribute to the journal. And this leads to my next very inspiring question that I personally really enjoy. The United Nations has various international days that they celebrate. We have the Women's Day, the Children's Day, Teachers' Day, recently celebrated. So why not a UN Careers in Livelihood Day? Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a great initiative. I hope you lead it, and I'll follow. And to me, all those days, so even if I forget about everything I know professionally, every single time when I hear, oh, today is the Women's Day, or today is the Freedom Day, whatever, that pushes me to give it a thought, think about it for a little bit. And if there are days of things that I don't know about, I go and I research that thing. So to me, one huge impact that I believe it would create would be raising awareness. And there are people all over the globe at so many different stages of their journey. There are people in very poor countries. There are people in developing countries, people in developed countries, people that are retired, people they're just starting their journey in schools. But raising awareness and educating people, this is what career means. I think it's invaluable. Again, the educator in me is speaking. So I would strongly support such an initiative, and I think it will happen. I think it will happen, but I hope we will be the initiators. You had the idea, so just go ahead.
I think it's a whole team. I would like to mention Dr. Miss Tracy Campbell. She's a colleague in North America, and she's very passionate. And she's leading a working group on the UN Careers and Livelihood Day. That I'm a member of that as well. So I invite the viewers that are listening to this interview to actually join this global movement, the global careers movement. So
Right.
it's very insightful interview, and I've learned a lot from Dr. Andreea. Coming towards the conclusion, what will be your message of inspiration for this Global Careers Month to people in Romania, to people in Europe, to people all over the world? That as a community, what can we do to make this profession even better?
I would split it in two. I would split it to the professional community, as you mentioned. First, I mean that would be one part, and that would be the public at large. So to the community, the career development community, I would encourage all of you and all of us to raise awareness, to raise the quality of the services, and don't forget, raise access. Okay, so that's one thing that I'm really passionate about, because it's not enough for us if we function in our little bubble. I think the positive impact that we can create can happen only if we expand our reach and expand access and educate our public. And then for everybody out there worrying or just interested in work, giving the times we're in, and all the loss that humanity has gone through. I'm speaking from a country that is bordering another country at war. And I've seen, refugees, kids, adults that just lost their life. So, and I'm in a country that luckily now is benefiting from more and more what we call work refugees coming from the Middle East and looking for work. So I'm in the middle of something that is very exciting. But young people seem to have lost their hope. And I'm talking about my students, Generation Z, but even millennials. And my message would start not from the work level, but from the basic level of keeping healthy, take care of your sanity, follow a healthy lifestyle. Don't forget to stay connected with your families and friends. And the best jobs are coming through connections always. So be there, be present, stay out in your communities. Don't lose hope, and go and speak to a career practitioner.
Very nice, very inspiring thoughts, and very, you spoke from the heart. I think we at times we talk a lot about work, but it comes to well-being. If you are healthy, automatically you will find work. But if your well-being is affected or it's being your mind is scattered because of XYZ reasons that is happening in the neighboring countries. So I think that's a very valuable close that it is important, number one, to focus on your well-being. Number two, have a healthy lifestyle. Number three, we can talk about work. Once you have your personal self in place, and as you rightly said, it's important and imperative to cultivate hope. I think we as a careers community, we need to harvest hope all over the world. So thank you
Right.
very much. It was indeed an honor and a privilege to learn from your wisdom in these last 30 minutes. And I wish everyone a happy Global Careers Month.
Thank you so much, Raza, and good luck.